Tonight's show, we're talking about the identity reset. Who are we becoming on the individual level as well as the collective level? Stay tuned to find out. And I'm answering all your questions with live readings coming up right now.
That looks like a Devin or David.
David is his name. It's been so spot on.
And I don't know if you put it in the side of your end table or not. You like to summon your end table. It's too.
My God, you're crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if she's showing me flowers. Like, relay them or redo them. These purple flowers.
Oh my God, Scott, the flowers are right there. My orchids are purple. They completely are dead.
Yeah.
Did you even know? You nailed everything, every single thing. Listen, everyone, this guy.
There needs to be a connection with like a Native American ancestry. And they're showing me a turquoise stone. Yes.
I just went to a Native American dance class and I wore this stone.
Tell me something that he told you that came true.
Everything he's predicted has come true.
I just don't see it.
Who doesn't have cancer?
It's very possible.
Tamara's psychic who first questioned Brooke's cancer.
Scott Cruz.
Oh, there you won! You won!
You better question yourself. We're here to bring enlightenment, not confusion.
You might encounter negative aspects of self, but that's a freeing experience.
Because then they start realizing that they can't think outside the box. And I say, if you can't think outside the box, then who's the stupid one here?
We've all co-created this matrix. So if you don't like the matrix, that's you saying that you don't like your own reality, what you're creating for yourself. So we're all equal participants of the creation of this matrix. I don't just come on here and talk repeat shit. I'm living it.
In harmony with nature.
Hello, beautiful souls. Happy Thursday Night Live. Welcome to the Cruiserverse. How y'all doing? We're on the tail end of Mercury's retrograde. It goes direct tomorrow, 12-something p.m. my time, Pacific time. So it's been an interesting few weeks, and we've been seeing kind of this astrology currents that we've been in affecting us individually as well as collectively. But this is the cyclical nature of life, of everything has a season, everything has a current, everything has a cycle. And so we need to understand what these cycles are in order to navigate so we become benefited from what we've experienced versus detrimented. I don't even think I said that correctly. Let me rephrase that. We want to make sure we're taking the benefits from these cycles and not making a detriment to our growth and detriment to our progression and what we're doing in life. So it's important to understand these cycles. And so, but as things pick up on the 20th, of course, and we go forward into April. April's going to be a very fiery month. Of course, it's Aries, but April will definitely be fiery and also a lot more movement, a lot more things happening. And I'll probably do an April forecast right before April starts, as I do every month for the forecast. We'll see what's going on there. But for now, we're kind of going to see how we can navigate the rest of this month of March. And so I decided to do the topic today called the identity reset, meaning that we are finding a new version of self. We've heard it before in the spiritual communities, very like in a cliche way, like, your new version, become your best version, like all that bullshit, right? We're talking about the authentic version of self as far as all the shit and karma you've healed from. Where do you stand now? And that new version doesn't mean like, I'm a millionaire, love and light. It doesn't mean that. It means, and that can be part of it, but it really means is that what is the new expression? And we'll get into that, what that means on the individual level. And sometimes that your new version right now and the new identity might be like, you're not taking shit no mo, right? And there's been a lot of that. People like, I ain't taking shit no mo. I'm standing up. I'm actually going to be very expressive and more an intricate part of the collective and the evolution of the collective. And so that's important. And that might be a no more miss the nice gal or girl, type of or guy or girl type of thing. I was going to say gal or guy, expression, and that's okay. But we have to find a way to where we embrace that new version, that new identity, and do it with ease, with care. This way we're not being too prickly, too edgy, and so, but we'll get into that. And of course, as those we'll get into the collective read first. But before we do, let's see who's Chatty Cathy on in the room before we get into that. And so I can only see who is chatting. I don't see who's watching, of course. David and Jennifer Cruz, my makers, are in the room. First and foremost, first and present. I love it. And a wonderful mod, Nina, is in the room. So if you want to get your questions in, get them in now. 15 for a card pull, 20 for one question, 30 for two questions, and 40 for a live video. The PayPal and Venmo links are in the description below. And our wonderful mod, Nina, will be able to help you as far as if you have questions, how to do so. And just so you know, these are like simple questions. They're not like full-on reads. That's what my one-on-one sessions are for. But enough to give you guys to have an outlet to have maybe get a question in if you can't afford a full session, or just kind of get a taste of what I do. And so I want to be able to showcase that for you guys as well. Sydney Aaron is in the room. Good to see you. Julia Fox, good to see you as well. Darby Maybury, good to see you as well. This week didn't go by fast. I agree with you on that, Darby, but pretty quick for me too. I'm like, it's Thursday already? Like, it's already Friday tomorrow? What the hell? Yeah, it's definitely been speeding by, which is good because we want to make sure we're out of Mercury retrograde season, especially eclipse season has been very heavy. I know it sounds cliche with everyone like, you know, the sensationalism, Mercury in retrograde, but everyone just blames it for weird things happening instead of understanding the depth of what it really entails. And each one is different. Each retrograde is different. Caroline Canton, good to see you. Linda Jane, hello. Brenda's Wet, good to see you. Buddha Heels, good to see you as well. Wesley Mosher, hello. Zen Gen Fitness, what's going on? Horses Trigger Hope Karma, good to see you as well. Yes, happy new moon. That's right. And spring equinox coming up right around the corner too. Pamela Johnson, good to see you as well. Kate, yo. Just want to see what she's saying here. Howdy, y'all. This has been happening my natal north node, Pisces 8 degrees. It's been a toughie. Yes, I know. No Man's Land sensation, cheerleading, welcome. Yes, and we will be doing a lot more of that cheerleading today. And I'm, of course, giving you clarity in the collective read as well to get you guys going on understanding what's going on and happening too. I've had the people who I know, they're like so positive, everything's great, love, and appreciate, crashing out the past couple of weeks. So you're all not alone, okay? And so that's just understand that part too. It's not just you. Tracy Renault, good to see you. Howdy as well. And those you're watching, I can't see. Obviously, I can only see who's Chatty Cathy on the room. But with that said, welcome aboard. And those who are new, I do start with a collective read. I do use some tarot for the collective read, but I'm a psychic medium. I don't need them, of course, but I use them as a way to direct for a general message as such, and for simple things like a card pull if you want to get that in done for more simplicity. Because I have a hard time being simple. I like to go into depth, but the cards help me remain simple so I can go into depth too. Without further ado, let's shuffle these cards. And guys, get your questions in because I'm going to keep this one short and sweet tonight. So if you want to get a question, get them in now. Make sure you do. Otherwise, I'll be closing it down and you have to wait till next week. But let's shuffle these cards and see what's going on for the week ahead. What's the messaging here? And then also, not even just for the week ahead. I mean, we'll do that. I like to do week to week, but I also want to see just the overtone of the message too, what you need to hear right now in correlation to the topic. All right, let's shuffle these cards. Let's see what we got. And these cards seem, because everyone knows when I shuffle these cards, are kind of like indicative of the energy. Okay, music started. And they're pretty clear, so maybe you guys get some clarity here. But let's see. The shuffling is okay. I just hear some of you guys are very exhausted. Like, when is it going to change? And I just hear a lot of that too. Okay. Interesting. Okay. It's going to be a simple message. Nothing overly philosophical appears like today. But just probably a reminder. Let me check some oracle cards and we'll tune in and get this started. Give me a couple seconds so I can tune in. Okay. All right. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, we got this going on here. All right. Okay. All right. So the first card is a Hermit card in reverse. So, as you can see, to me, this is a very, very much the indicative, right, of the energy I was saying before as we're approaching April, that we're actually coming out of the shell. We're coming out of that kind of isolation period. Again, the cyclical nature of the energy currents and happen all the time. Sometimes you got to go to hibernation mode. Sometimes you got to come out. But what did you do in the hibernation mode is key. Because this hibernation mode was actually all about, you know, kind of coming to terms with aspects of the self that has been causing a lot of degradation to the self, a lot of stress to the self, that has been causing the self to be in contempt of the self, right? So this period of hibernation was meant to bring you out of that shell, to bring you in the moment of, oh, these are the patterns I've been doing still, and I've been saying this for the past couple months to prepare you for this moment, but to say, yes, I've healed this karmic pattern, but my behavior is still behaving like I haven't. And so this period of hibernation or focusing on the self, the slowness that we've had in the currents and this kind of delayed, echoing of delay with the past, month or so has been intended for us to recognize those things, those beliefs, those ideas that have been actually preventing us from truly progressing. And like I said in the last session, I said many people are in that hamster in the wheel energy. You're moving, but there's no progression, right? Yeah, I'm moving, but you're not progressing in anything. So, and that is caused by old past behaviors that are still linked into your perspective that doesn't correlate with your actual evolution or progression. And so these things that right now have become very much realized by a lot of us. And that's why we're going to be talking today about like that identity shift and that, what does that mean, and the identity reset. But we need to make sure we've taken advantage of this isolation period, because once things pick up, if you have not done that realization, then life is going to force those things onto you. It's going to feel like every situation is a rug being pulled beneath you, right? It's going to happen either way, because you'll have to catch up. But that catch-up period with this current is going to be detrimental to you, because you'll feel like, I lost this really quickly, or I lost this person, or this happened. And it's like, yes, because you're meant to do that realization in the hibernation mode. Right? So with that said, so now's the time to start recognizing, well, how much have I been carrying? So the 10 of Wands come in saying, how much have you been over encumbered by? And what were the things that you were over encumbered by? See, a lot of you people carry too much crap. And not even just, and I'll be more specific. I mean, that was so profound, right? A lot of you carry so much crap. But what I mean by this, a lot of guys carry so much expectation. Well, they have to do this in order for me to feel a certain way. And if they don't do these things, then I'm going to respond and shut it out, right? Expectations. What I've been saying in a lot of people for the past several decades is that those that hold others to expectations don't meet them themselves. Those complain, this person does not do this, you're not doing it themselves. So a lot of us are carrying so much expectation because maybe we've had past circumstances that where we've been deprived. So then we built these expectations up, and now we realize we're so focused on getting those expectations that we don't show up to meet or express them ourselves. And then that creates more chaos, conflict, and more dysfunction in our lives, because then we think, oh, people are just doing me wrong, right? And so whenever that victimization phrase starts creeping in, we have to start to take a step back and saying, what am I really doing here? That's what this isolation period is for, to look within and say, what am I doing to create this? What am I doing to participate into this? Right? But also, hold on, I got a text from my mom. Let me just make sure it's okay. And what am I doing, guys, when you text during a session is hard to read. But this is the period to ask ourselves this stuff, because a lot of times we have to understand we are fueling a lot of this dysfunction ourselves in our lives. And that's what this realization period is all about. And some of y'all may be carrying too much stuff over encumbered with the energetic weight of guilt, responsibility. I'm responsible for them. I feel guilty because they might respond a certain way, right? All these emotional detriments and all these emotional, I would say, unrealistic responsibilities we put on ourselves, again, is that 10 of Wands energy. You're carrying so much you can't even see clearly about what's ahead or what to do to move ahead. That's what this period was about. This emotional period was about. And the astrology hasn't been this intense since like World War II. So of course, and then we're at war, right? With Iran and all that stuff is going on. So the astrology is very fitting when it comes to that. But we also have to understand we're somewhat at war with ourselves and at war with the fact of being a sovereign soul being, that we're so in contempt of ourselves because of societal expectations. We're hyper-focused on survival only. We're so concerned about what other people think and say to us and how they're living their lives. I mean, it still bugs me out that people have a problem with how someone chooses to live their life, or how people choose to have relationships, how people choose to express themselves with outfits and dressing. Who cares? Again, even though it's negative, even though it's judgmental of other people, you're still encumbering yourself with that heavy expectation and energy, which again keeps you boggled down. It keeps you boggled down, And so, and the more we're encumbered with these things, guess what? The more we can be cheated. So the Five of Swords is all about, people who are around that will win at all costs. They'll cheat you, right? When we're boggled down this way, not only will we cheat ourselves into thinking that people are doing us wrong, like I said before, so much expectations that I expect this, but you don't show up. So therefore you're cheating yourself into thinking that everybody else, has negative intentions for you, when really it's you not showing up. for yourself and for other people, which creates the illusion that everybody else is not showing up for you, which is a lie. And when we're so encumbered by guilt and responsibility, it leaves us more vulnerable for people to take advantage of us or to get over on us, because we're not focused on the clarity of the soul. We're not focused on the clarity of who we really are on the soul level, which dismantles our intuition, which dismantles our perception of reality, right? And last time on Leading Out Loud, we were talking about the differences of, our subjective reality and the romanticism of our subjective reality versus the collective reality and what's going on in actual reality and the collective objective reality. And I would say the more we're encumbered with these things, right, and we don't let them go, then we just become all these filters we put on our consciousness, all these beliefs, and that's how we start seeing life, which is a very distorted view. Because everything is now filtered through our own shit, basically. And we're not allowing ourselves to be objective to notice how everything else is going around us, but also how other people perceive things and how to interact with people. That's what this hibernation period was about, is to make those realizations, to say, I'm plucking this out, I'm plucking that filter off, I'm taking these filters off, I'm releasing what I've been over encumbered with, so that I can see things more clearly, more objectively. And so again, that the identity shift we're talking about, the identity reset we're talking about here, as I should probably put this banner up, I'm always about the banners, is really all about understanding what is the version of yourself that you need to be. Not what you've become, but what you need to be. That comes with behavior. So if you cleared your karma, you released the guilt, but you still feel guilty, even though you know you shouldn't be, but you're still behaving that. We got to train ourselves to understand what it's like to receive. And when we understand what it's like to receive, but then we also look at the duality of, I'm receiving, but whatever I'm getting, I'm giving. Whatever I want to receive, I better make sure I'm fucking giving it. Because we have to understand the duality of reality. So there's a duality, there's a polarity, as I always say. There's also the yin and the yang and the ebb and the flow. So whatever you get, you better give the same amount in return, or whatever you're giving, you better expect the same amount in return, if not more. That's a flow, right? And so many people, I speak to, so many people have talked, the past almost 2 decades, well, almost there, 13 years, but I've been doing it before, just professionally, I'm saying for 13 years. But so many people have so much expectations. It's because they just want to get what they want that they don't show up at all. And they're so consumed with being the victim of reality, the victim of life, that they just don't show up. And they wonder, why isn't what I'm wanting manifesting? As if that's really a thing, just because you want something that manifests. That's bull. You got to participate, as I've been saying for the past 2 months. And we're getting ready to participate because we've shed these layers during this hibernation period I've been talking about. And so now's the time that we start showing up. But which way, though? Which version now that we need to show up at? And that's where we need to be more intellectually specific on the ways that we start behaving and changing our behaviors from the past karma that we've supposedly healed. I say supposedly because some of y'all did, some of y'all didn't. That means, and for example, that means that perhaps you are not the person that's going to be responsible for others anymore. Perhaps you're closing that door, right? And I'm going to get more into the topic. But now it's time to start thinking about those ideas, right? And with it's the 7 of Cups too in the reversed, we're not being stuck in our own subjective realities in delusion. Because you say so, things happen. Because you're emotionally stinted or you're emotionally in pain, that means somehow everyone's got to respond. That's not happening. That's not how life works any longer. And this new paradigm with the Age of Aquarius in motion, it's all about connection and community, right? It's all about that connection and community and humanitarian and working together, right? And I've been telling a lot of people, being upfront with a lot of people I've been speaking to, is like, just because you're emotional and hurt doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean you're right. So let's get to the idea here. Like, what are you hurt by? Is what you're hurt by legitimate to what's actually whatever you're experiencing right now? Is it real? Is it reality? Is it logical? Is it rational? Did you create some of that fragmentation yourself? Right? And so now we're starting to break that illusion and say to ourselves, perhaps maybe I haven't been all that. Maybe my emotional aspect of deprivation I'm feeling is really kind of just something I've been sustaining, perpetuating because I haven't changed my behaviors. Right? And so now it's time that we allow ourselves to be generous in that way, that we say, I'm going to give myself the time and space to allow myself to be okay if I fucked up or not. I'm going to allow myself to say, it's okay if I messed up. It's okay that I'm responsible for these things too. And there may be other people that are responsible for things too, but finding that overall balance to things can be very beneficial. But again, this is where we're going to start really recognizing, as we're coming out of this hibernation period, the yin to the yang, our polarity, our duality. Okay? Because I've always said before, we have so many characteristics built into our human consciousness, but also layers of our soul consciousness too. But within the human consciousness, we have so many different layers of characteristics. And now we're starting to recognize there's a duality to the characteristics. Some people say, oh, I'm just too sensitive, and so that's so bad. And it's like, well, being sensitive is a good trait, so it has two polarities to it. Are you sensitive where you care about people and you're empathetic, or are you sensitive to where you take everything personally and everything's all about you? Which end of the polarity, which side of that duality are you functioning at? Or you bring it to a balance to where you're like, I'm sensitive, I care about other people, and I'm empathetic, but I also care about myself too, where it needs to be about me as well. So therefore, not one is going to the extreme version of itself to where it brings in balance. Balance is huge as we're coming out of this hibernation period and going to this state of activity, stage of moving forward and progression, that we understand what true balance really means. People think balance means you're just happy and at peace. Because you could also be at peace and be in a state of delusion. You could be at peace and just, putting your head in the sand on things and being in avoidance mode. But I feel peaceful because I'm in avoidance mode. That's not balance, right? So we have to understand which end of the polarity have we been on in whatever situation we're in. And that's how we find the true movement. That's how we were able to be more consistent in our movement, right? That's how we're able to maneuver through these currents that we're experiencing right now, because we understand the duality and how to function through it. A lot of people say, it's just so bad. I overthink everything. It's just so bad. It's like, being an overthinker is great. But if you're constantly overthinking in a way that's negative all the time, or, like I say, people just overthink with just worrying, and I say worrying just habitually thinking negatively, habitually thinking about being disempowered. That's what worrying really is. It's just a constant state of disempowerment. So if you're overthinking in disempowerment, that's not going to be good for you. But if you're overthinking ways to make things better for yourself, to put things in perspective, to be rational, then overthinking is going to do you justice. But again, there's two sides of balance, two sides of duality, overthinking, characteristic. So you should be like overthinking, maybe saying that, there's possibilities that things go wrong, but there's possibilities that could go great and correct and right. But there's a spectrum of possibilities. So I'm going to overthink my way to understand how to maneuver through both aspects. Boom, you can master through progression. So overthinking is not a bad trait. It can be if you're functioning in the negative polarity. So these are things we have to identify. These are things that we have to understand is part of our identity. Good segue. As we talk about our identity reset, as that's such a small banner that doesn't even fit. There we go. Our identity reset, because we need to understand our characteristics. And so many people judge, I'm just too loving. I'm like, are you, or are you just too avoidance of self? Because being loving is a great thing, but if you're like too loving and you're being taken advantage of, then you're too much in avoidance of self. So let's bring some more love of self with love of others, and boom, you got it going, girl, guy, whatever you are. And this is what the identity reset means, because a lot of what's going on in our collective world, and I say this all the time, that the collective world is a reflection and extension of the collective consciousness of what is resolved and unresolved. Clearly, a lot of us are breaking religious karma, because we're starting to see the religion aspects starting to come out as being like hypocritical. Something's not quite right about this. It's actually suppressing human evolution and progression. So people are saying, I don't know about this religion thing. Right? A lot of us who have that in our karma and our subconscious unresolved, we're breaking that. So that's why it's in the collective. That's why we're seeing more this religious aspect versus this aspect, in this duality fight, right? We're at war with ourselves. We're at war with humanity. Everything's reflecting right now. You know, we have leaders that are not doing their thing, or the people getting away with things and not being held accountable for things. We're seeing a saturation of that. What does that mean? Have you been holding people accountable? And I'll tell you this. A lot of people just say, oh, just brush it off. Take the high road. I've been seeing that so many times. People not standing up to take responsibility, to make change, to make an influence, to inspire, to motivate, to encourage. Oh, just let it go. Somehow the passive aspect in our consciousness has been so dominant lately. Or people get into a fist fight, just people want to sit there and record on their phones. You know, I'm not going to like participate. I'm just going to record. Right? And so that's more people saying like, I'm not going to do anything to make change. And so no one's being held responsible or held accountable. That's saturated in our government right now, right? Reflection of human consciousness of what we need to start focusing on. Now is demanding, Epstein files, release the files. I want to be held accountable for this, the pedos and all that stuff. And because we all understand now that we need to start standing up. So on an individual level, for me specifically, and I'll be very transparent as always with you guys about how I'm evolving, because we all are, we're in density, is that I'm not taking shit anymore from people. I'm not just going to, whatever, just let it go, you know, because I understand why they're doing it. No, because the behavior needs to be corrected now. That may have worked 5 years ago. It doesn't work in this current era that we are in, this current cycle that we are in now. It does not work anymore. Right? Especially those who know and those who don't know. I've gone through conversion therapy, I was in the religious cult, actually in the cult. Okay. Went through that experiences, went through suicide ideation, went through possessions, exorcisms. Okay. Like, you know, I've been followed, I've been sexually abused. You know, I need to go on. You know, it's just to clarify a few things I went through. I went through agoraphobia because I had so much anxiety, I couldn't leave my house. Right. So I've evolved from all that. And so I tolerated enough. And then when I evolved and got kind of, you know, situated where I resolved the karma, I just started saying, okay, I understand why people are that way. And so I let it go. And Spirit's like, no, you were, if anything, the one that should be addressing the behavior and calling it out. I'm like, that's true. Because how is anything going to change if we don't call things out? So I've been doing that more and more lately now. That's been part of my identity shift. I'm calling it out. I'm putting more of that appreciation into the self, into myself. That's my new identity. I'm calling shit out now, but not in a way where I had to fight against things, but in a way where I want to correct things. I want things to evolve. I want things to progress. I want things to, you know, for people to recognize if they are in a stage of ignorance, because when I was in a stage of ignorance, thank God someone helped to snap me out of it, right? But the only way that the change will happen on a collective scale if we all start doing that and showing up and participating, right? Your new identity might be that you're saying, you know what, I've kind of sheltered myself from love because, you know, I've held on to past circumstances. I've been abused by a loved one. So then my brain's like, okay, to be loved is to be abused. So I avoided love at all costs. And that's just a belief that's not rational. It's protecting me, but it's also depriving me. So your new identity is like, you know, I'm actually going to allow myself to be loved. I'm going to allow myself to be appreciated. Appreciation is a big thing, big theme lately for a lot of people. And then you allow yourself to be appreciated and you start meeting new people. You start connecting with different people because I'll tell you guys, by the summertime of 2026, it's going to be a lot more of that communal energy happening for all you all. Okay? So it's like a collective communal click this year. So a lot of you might just need to be open for that and say, like, look, there's and I have to remind you all, there's a spectrum of people. There's the shittiest of shittiest over here and the most best vulnerable, whatever you want to call it over here. And there's in between. So where are you going to hover? Do you want to hibernate because you want to protect yourself from these people over here? Or you just like, you know, maybe I should stop focusing and hovering over here. Maybe go live over here in the balance here. You know, people who are like, got it going on for themselves, but also want to come into themselves. And people that want to like, you know, integrate with other people and help other people, right? Understand that spectrum. There's a spectrum with everything. So, but we also have to be rational and reasonable too, at the same time with that spectrum. So what is that identity reset? What is that new stake? What is that new identity defined for you? What are specific variables of that for you? And that's what we need to be focusing on now. And allowing ourselves in this age of Aquarius energy of being, again, focused on humanitarianism, understanding it's through the collective integrations we can thrive on the individual levels. Right? And especially what's going down in our society right now, we're starting to see more the importance of other people, where they're at. And I think that's why social media has been a wonderful tool for us in this day and age, because we get to actually really see what's going on in other countries. People are posting videos from other places, stay connected. We can kind of be very connected on a global scale So why? Because then we can start saying like, oh, well, you know, I thought differently about how they were over there. Or, you know, we're actually not so different. We all kind of are acting and behaving the same way or wanting the same things. Like, so we're starting to integrate more this way on a global scale, which is why global things are happening right now on a very negative sense too, because it's waking us up to want to connect more that way. So the question is to simplify, because I don't want to be too, you know, long-winded about this, is that what's that next step? What's that new definition? What is that new calibration of self for you now moving forward? What behaviors do you want to just stop doing and stop acting out? Simple thing. I always say it's like you're recalibrating an avatar. What does that avatar look like now? What upgrades do you need to give yourself? Some of y'all, again, I've been repetitive about this, have healed a lot of karma, but did not acquire your upgrades, so to speak. Just like a video game. Like, oh, you went through all these challenges, you have all those upgrades, but you didn't go to the upgrade section to like upgrade your tools, upgrade your personality, upgrade anything. Upgrade. What are those upgrades? And understand, it doesn't need to be in spite of. Like, my wanting to call things out is not in spite of. It's because I understand what appreciation is, and I also want others to have the same. And I don't want anybody to interfere with others' appreciation or others' existence or experiences. So I'm taking a stand for that to which I've healed from. I'm taking a stand for. Because remember, guys, your healing isn't just only about you. When you heal, it's up to you to share that healing. When you heal, it's up to you to share that wisdom and knowledge to others who are going to similar situations that you've gone through or on similar levels that you were on before. It's up to you. It's your responsibility to help encourage and to inspire people through that which you've learned. It's your responsibility to share that wisdom. It's your responsibility to share that knowledge. And when you truly do, it's almost like you can't help but want to share it. You can't help to want to express it. But this is the change. And as the individual identity shifts, and we're doing it in the right way that's in alignment to the soul evolution, then you start recognizing that your individual expression correlates and integrates with the collective. And that's where things become more harmonious. We're getting there. We're actually on our way there. I know we're going through this tribulation phase, as I like to kind of say, within the revelation of the Bible, where we actually are going through trial and tribulation to resurrect into 5D perspective. I mean, gosh, I remember years ago, people talking about 5D Earth, and people just really thinking they were just going to like evaporate into like this new Earth. And they're like, we got to help people transition into this. It's like, guys, it's a perspective. When you shift that perspective, you brought that perspective of what 5D means. And 5D is heart, soul, intuition, psychic ability, access to spiritual dimensions, spiritual domains. That's what 5D is having that awareness, right? And so when we all allow ourselves to expand and evolve our perception and consciousness into 5D, guess what happens? Then we become more intuitive, we become more insight, we become more empathetic. We have more access to those non-physical trajectories where we just can oversee where things are going, how to shift and change and evolve it. And that's 5D. And 5D is also being objective enough to understand why somebody else is being why they're being and what they need to enable to help them to evolve. And 5D is also understand the duality of nature and that there's no evil in a sense. We can define it in our human characters. That's evil. But in a spiritual sense, it has to exist. And then we'll understand, embrace duality for what it is, and allow it to propel ourselves in our own evolution. You know, and what people don't understand too is that in order for you to fully evolve on the soul level, you have to experience both aspects of that duality, of that polarity. So I'm sure my being abused in this lifetime, I must probably in a lifetime abused myself. Was the abuser. And I experienced that duality. Boom, completed that cycle. So don't think that you're going to get away with being the aggressor, or you once were the aggressor. Many of you guys were the aggressors in your past incarnations and flipped it around, and you have empathy. And the more empathy you possess in this lifetime, that just means how much experience of what you've actually experienced that you can relate. So I always say empathy is a level to which it defines what you experienced in your past incarnations. Because you're like, I know about this. I've been through this on both sides. I have empathy. Those who don't have empathy don't have much human experience. Because they haven't experienced much of the polarity of experience. Empathy is actually experience. And empathy is a wisdom we obtain when we understand the duality from our past incarnational experiences. And we had to be evil and aggressors in those past experiences to understand the fullness of the soul and the fullness of self. Some of y'all are like, I just love and light, gotta stay in love and light mode. It's like, get out of that bullshit security zone, because that's actually going to keep you more in danger. Embrace the duality and the polarity to understand that is what all that is. That's what God is. That's what source is. All it is everything. The positive, negative, everything in between. It's everything. And the more we experience life, the more all that is knows who it is. We give definition to experience in life. And that constant evolution, the constant infinite loop of creation is where we want to be in. So in this lifetime, yeah, you might not want to be evil. Go for the empathy. Go for the love aspect and the caring aspect. That's what you need to experience, because probably you were an evil fuck in your last incarnation. And you need to evolve from that, right? So understand the cycle, like we said in the very beginning. Everything has a cycle. Everything has a season. Once you understand what the season and cycle is, you'll understand the importance of it. You'll revel in it instead of fight against it. To where you're like, oh, everything's so bad, everything's so heavy, and what was me? You'll get out of that bullshit mode and take advantage of the cycle, so then you accelerate the cycle instead of keep repeating the same cycle. What is the season? And right now, the season collectively is really kind of enforcing humanitarianism. We don't need a savior. Okay? We don't need a God, a savior, a book, an ideology, a religion, a president, a savior, whatever. We don't need that anymore. Because we are the ones as a collective that put us there anyway. So why don't we just rely on each other? Now that sounds very cliche and simplistic, but this is the road we're on right now. And so within the next 5 to 6 years, we're going to see a lot more of this. And to conclude, some of y'all are very fearful about AI and technology. Again, there's a duality to everything. There's a polarity to everything. So why is everyone so focused on, oh, AI is going to take over the world and destroy and kill humans? Why is everyone just only focused on that possibility? What if AI becomes trained so well that it starts actually becoming a friend to humans, and like, oh, we can help humans and help humans to progress and to focus on spiritual things, as the AI does all the mundane stuff? Like, do we ever focus on that aspect? It's always on this dark, digressive aspect, disempowering aspect. Humans love to focus on disempowerment. But is that a possibility? Yes, it's also possible. It could do great things for the human species. Where we're so actually focused more on soul expression, AI is doing all the tangible shit, the mundane stuff, and we could evolve even more with human consciousness. Everyone think about that possibility? I had one fool call me a transhumanist just because I have that. I hold that perspective. The foolish mindsets we have out here of fear just creates bastards and fools and dummies and all this stupidity and ignorance because of what? Fear. Where people don't even think rational anymore. So ask yourselves, which end of the polarity are you thinking about things? And what can you do to use those things to your benefit? How can you use either polarity towards your benefit for your own growth and evolution? Because whether you like it or not, AI is evolving. And everything is evolving. The human consciousness is intended to evolve. So, of course, AI is evolving. We're supposed to evolve too. But too many people are doing this as AI is evolving. Oh, no. And they're going to be taken over and fall by the wayside. That's the left behind. And I believe is the interpretation in Revelation, what it really intends to be. So it's time to focus on this new identity. And that new identity for yourself could be like, I'm going to be more in tune. I want to be more in tune. I've been intuitive, but I want to focus more on being intuitive. I want to focus more on my discernment. I want to expand that awareness of self. That's new identity. And it's going to be happening collectively too. So, of course, I like to jumpstart you guys in the season so you understand what's ahead psychically. And so this way you're prepared and you're on the right track and you're enjoying the currents, not so much being swallowed by the currents and then being pushed up the forward and, out of control. All right. Okay. So now let's get into the live one-on-one readings. We don't have a message from Nina. She's been busy preparing for New Year's. I think, what did you say, Nina, it was? The New Year's? Your cultural New Year's, I think you were saying. I read it really quick before the show. Okay, let's see what questions we have in. And we'll change this to collective reading. Okay. Oh, Lord, you guys showed up. Good for you. Oh, Teresa, you're so sweet. That was sweet of you to do that. Thank you for that. Yes, and I'll be clear, Teresa, just to kind of like, I'll throw this out at you too, is that sometimes people come in to open the door for relationships, and that I always say is a ticket to love. And so this situation is a ticket to love, meaning that it could be either through them or because of meeting them opens you up to where it pushes you into the real love. Okay, so I just want to add that, and because I know through text and through email things can be lost, but I just want to kind of throw that out at you to understand that was there to open the door. And it's significant, which is why it came up in a prediction, because it's what's going to get that moving in that direction. So you can still entertain it. I would say don't not entertain, or don't turn away from that because it may not be long term. Still entertain it. Understand what it's feeding to you right now, because it's going to propel you forward in relationships. So that's why it's important. All right. So thank you for that, and I hope that makes sense to you. Which I know it does. Okay. Next question is for Felicia. Will my sister get custody of my granddaughter? My grandma didn't seem to like our mom and us kids. We always wondered if she was my mom's mom or sister. I don't know that question, but I guess the first question is, will your sister get custody of your granddaughter? This is most likely. I feel that your sister would get custody of the granddaughter. I feel like your sister's open to that, and would really, appreciate that. So it seems likely. Just some legalities have to be worked out and ironed out for that to be so, but it feels very likely now that would happen. Yeah. And I feel like she would enjoy having custody of your granddaughter, actually. So yeah, I think that that's going to be good. And I think the second question here was, my grandma didn't seem to like her mom and us kids. Was wondering if she was my mom's mom. No, she was your mom. She was your grandmother. She was your mother's mother. I just feel like there's resentment. The resentment she had was just the fact that I don't think she really wanted to be a mom. And I feel like, the resentment of the responsibility of being a mom, it feels like she was like very resentful for that. And I feel like that wasn't really her true desire in life to have a family like that. So I feel like she just always resented it and always detached herself from it, it feels like. And so, but yeah, it was your mom's mom and your mom and your grandmother. The lineage there is correct. It's just her resentments, imagine she never wanted to have kids, if she, had to get married to all this stuff and it wasn't her true nature. And so she just resented that. So it wasn't personal. It's just your mom probably would have preferred to not have to be a mom, or your grandmother, actually, excuse me. But yeah, but it still feels like the lineage is related in that way. Okay, next is question from Lilisa asks, "Hi Scott, I have a 5 centimeter tumor on my right side of my liver and 4 centimeters endometrioma on my right ovary. I feel connected. I feel they're connected somehow. Curious if you have any insight on these and how I can support myself in releasing." Let me see. 5 centimeter tumor, and then on the right ovary, liver and ovary. So, where's this coming from? I just need to figure out what this is deriving from. I want to do the physical and then spiritual. Everything has to be all the information, right? The physical reason for this feels environmental. I don't know. I was getting aerosol. Like, it's funny because I'm getting something respiratory that's actually created these tumors there, but it feels like I don't know. It feels like it's from fragrance stuff in the air. I don't know. And it's weird it's there because I'm like, it could be respiratory. Sometimes we inhale things, chemicals, pesticides, and it could affect other parts of our system. So for me, I feel like you should probably get an idea to avoid, and this sounds so, for me when I'm reading this, I feel so disconnected because logically it feels disconnected, but my read is like, this is what's creating this. You need to avoid like things with synthetic fragrances, Lily. Because it felt like environmental. So like cleaners with synthetic fragrances, I would remove. Soaps with synthetic fragrances, I would remove. I would probably not wear, perfumes and that nature and any type of dyes. I think that's where it's coming from, oddly enough. Because usually this can be dietary, but it's like, it feels like synthetic fragrances. And environmental. That's a physical cause, I feel like these are tumors that come from. The spiritual cause, to me, is that there's something holding you back from expressing, and like we're saying, creating a new identity. Let me just close that off, by the way, the banner. Something emotionally now, this is the spiritual side of it. The emotional side is like you're reluctant of moving forward in expressing something creative or expressing something that would change your expression. Well, not that you use any fragrances, but I'm talking about cleaners, detergents, right? Cleaners, something in the air. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, environmental. So not to say you're using fragrances only, but I'm saying think about cleaners, think about soaps, think about detergents, right? Think about things that have those synthetic qualities in them, Lily. Okay? Because sometimes there's soaps that have that in there. I'm just feeling it's environmental. So not that you use those. So don't just think of fragrance like this. Detergents, make sure they're like EOS in that nature, or soaps, you know what I mean? No air fresheners, right, Mom? So like things of that nature. And you might be also very sensitive to environmental things in the air, because just keep saying like air stuff, how's the air quality where you live, so those are things that it's a list that not just using fragrances here, you know what I mean? So just something about that. Anyways, take that message, because that's what I'm sensing. And maybe your environment or air quality, something, I don't know. But anyways, and there's also something that you're not releasing. It's like something you're not creating and reproducing, right? And so if you think of that and you start saying, well, maybe there's something I've been holding back on, then you can fix the spiritual aspects of that. I have people say all the time when they get a nutrition read, I'm like, just too much sugar. I don't have anything sugar. And then we go through a list of stuff and there's like too much sugar. You know what I'm saying? So I would fine tune what you're saying, because you're saying like, it's all organic, fragrance free. It's like, but there's still something in the air around you, my love. Whether allergic to, there might be something you might be allergic to. Something has created these little growths. Okay, test it out. Perhaps maybe you want to test for mold or something too. It just seems it's in the air. Toxic stuff in the air. So we'll just keep it more general that way. I'm giving suggestions because I feel it's in the air, but I'm being general with that sense now. Let's just think it's something with the air around you, something the air quality, that was causing inflammation that created these growths. Right? Let's keep it general then. But I'm just giving you a list of examples with stuff, okay? But like I said before, we need to find ways where you're also expressing yourself and allowing yourself to create that new version. I know it sounds cliched with that too, but something to create, something to reproduce, right? Because you think ovaries too about reproduction. What are you not allowing yourself to create? What are you not allowing yourself to give birth to too? Let's keep that simple too. So I think if you work on that, and perhaps your environment around you maybe just has better air quality too, it's affecting you. But if you work on kind of being more conscious of this, and you're being more conscious of the spiritual stuff, then perhaps you allow yourself to navigate and control that so it doesn't become greater. And yeah, perhaps maybe you just need clean air. Perhaps maybe you just need more air, more clean air, and get yourself into cleaner air, because it just, like I said before, it feels environmental. It feels environmental, And again, there's sometimes there's things within people's homes that they don't recognize, and that's causing issues. And like some people don't realize they have mold. Like some people go to new homes and they don't realize there's mold in a new home because there was a leak while they were creating the house. So pay attention to that part of it. Okay, but yeah, I think you can focus on those things, breathe more, focus on clean air, and find ways to reproduce something creative within yourself that's new. That's not holding back, and releasing the trepidations, right? It's like there's like hesitations and trepidations. So So yes, I would look into that, and I would study what I'm saying about this air quality thing. Y'all know when I pick up on something, it's just not like, oh, he's just misreading things. I've been doing this way too long just to misread something. There's a reason for this, and you'll understand that more specifically. If I was 2 years in my career, yeah, maybe I misread it. Maybe 5 years in, like, no, I don't think so. 13 years in, no, there's not a misread. Otherwise I tell you, I don't know, you know? Okay, where's Jenny? Next question is Jenny. I have some ideas for expanding my business this year. Sound healing, nervous system work. You don't have to tell me what it is because I like to validate it for you. Whatever it is, but okay. Sound healing, nervous system work, and further education. Can you see what feels most aligned to focus on first and what will create the most impact and growth? Cool. I would like if you didn't tell me what it was, I would like to confirm it for you. So, okay. Sound healing, nervous system work, and let me see, Jenny, what are you meant to do? Interesting. You know, I see it's a combination for me. Mental health, connecting with spiritual health. So similar to like what I said, aligning the mind with the soul. There's something with the cognitive function of understanding how the cognitive function works for healing, and shifting shifting brain waves, you know, and understanding healing through that format. I think that's the direction they're showing to me in that sense. So you're kind of on it a little bit. Because like sound healing, nervous system work, right? For this case, like, well, what if you understand the different frequencies and different tonalities that can actually affect and improve brain health, right? And so, and using tonalities and frequencies to do that sense of healing that can shift cognitive awareness, right? That's the line, because they're showing to you like there's a huge passion for you to be focused on how is the brain working with the healing. How's the brain, you know, functioning with the healing and going in that direction, but using tone and frequency more scientifically to go new agey with healing. So I would say that's the environment, the avenue. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think if you focus on that integration, okay, I think that's where you'll find more of that impact for yourself. Because I just see you being so intellectually focused too about the tangible mind too, you know? And I think that if you focus there, yes. And so I think you're kind of on the track with that, you know? So, hold on, let me just look at something too. Cause there's something that a format I heard where people do, there's certain like drawings where like they draw these patterns, but it also then changes and shifts cognitive functions and awareness. It helps with healing. I'm trying to see if I can see what that name is. I don't know if I'll find out. I'll have to kind of look it up later. I keep forgetting what that is. Yeah, I don't know, but sorry guys. Every time I feel like I want to look up this thing, I keep forgetting to, and like now I'm just like, maybe I can look it up and find the name. I just can't find the name. Yeah, I'm not going to find it. I don't want to waste time on that. But there's an aspect of such. They're saying mental health focus or how the brain works in conjunction to healing, tone frequency, visualization, of that nature. Think of that context. So yeah, you're kind of in that direction. So if you can get education in that aspect, you know, or if you did go more in the spiritual way to really study the brain and how brain correlates to healing and how the brain correlates to creating disease and even the psychological aspects connected with the frequency and spiritual aspects, that's where I feel like you're going to really hit home with passion, but also being effective with other people and actually assisting with other people's healing too. That's the environment. Okay. That might be realized by you because I think that, you know, you're talking more nervous system, I'm talking more cognitive actually, but I think that will be realized to you this year. I think you'll understand more of that totality this year actually. You know, you might start moving that direction in November, you know, into November this year. I feel like that's being like emphasis of November this year. That might be like, you know, I'm actually going in that direction, or you've locked it in or something. So, but yeah, I really feel like that's going to be, you know, there's other like modalities where I've actually created frequency meditations where I like took certain hertz that I know affect, certain aspects of the brain, and I made loops of them, and people, I've had so many people who've listened to them and have great change for them and assisted in their change, right? It's not just a thing, but it helped to open up parts and they're like, oh my gosh. And so I got a lot of great feedback on those. So think in that context, Jenny. All right. These are two things I feel like are left field for you all, but you'll get that. You'll understand that. That'll make more sense. I can't tell you how many times I get, since I've been doing my work, it being so left field. I have regular clients that have come to me last week and they were just like, I think the past few weeks I had a few regular clients saying, when I first had sessions, I thought you were crazy. I'm like, I would never do that. And then they're doing that. One client was like, my first read, I'll never forget. You told me I was going to be moving in a year to Florida. And she's like, I had just moved and bought this $3,000 square foot house. He's crazy. I don't know. And so then she's like, and then I moved that next year to Florida. She's like, and so understand, like, you don't have to bow down to a psychic, but just like they're saying something for a reason. Consider it, even if it feels left field. Okay. And like with you, Lily, the whole air quality thing, like, well, I use all organic stuff, like understand the environmental air quality things. And perhaps you need to stay away from those fragrances too, but there's something else in the air that you might discover, right? That we were saying before. Be open to that. And I know you asked me questions before, with things. And I know it's going to make sense to you in that sense. Make sense to you in that sense. That was so redundant. And I didn't realize too, and for me too, because I have allergies, and when I was living in Palm Springs, God, it was like the worst. It was the worst. And, and if someone at first told me it was the air quality, I'd be like, no, like it's cleaner than LA. But then when I moved out of there, I'm into like Reno, Nevada, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the air quality down there is horrible. My allergies are better here. So, and it's fine. That's been coming up a lot in my sessions too, about people's environmental stuff. Their environmentals. And I just saw actually an article today that like in Austin, I forgot what other states were advised to stay indoors because there was something that was going to affect the lungs and the air quality too. I just saw an article about that today. I was like, that's crazy. Because I saw something like with the air quality nuclear stuff in actually Southern California in the next 3 to 5 years, could be sooner. So, and there might be things too, and this is for everybody too, because I'm so passionate about air quality stuff too. There should be some things too around us that we may not know that we're sensitive to that we are. And use your discernment, guys, on these things. I'm just logging to see if there's anything in PayPal. And that's it. Done with the questions, and I'll just give my final thoughts here for you all. Okay, it looks like Jerry Springer's final thoughts. Yes, Darby, chemtrails. And everyone thinks that's conspiracy, but they just released an article just recently about showing declassifieds about those things. And, I always kind of said, it's possible. Like, I don't know the facts on it. But then when I live in areas where I have clear skies and open skies, and some people want to get questions, you can get them in now too, but we'll close it down. But if you want to get a question, you can still get them now, but yeah, otherwise it'll be closed. If you just look up and you see, okay, clear skies, and then you see a line, another line, you're like, okay. And then you're just like, that's odd. Okay, that's not every day, but what's going on there, and why they're crisscrossing, and stuff. And then an hour or two later, the whole sky is like with this film. It don't look right, And so, and I'm not saying they're doing it to kill or dumb us down. I'm not even going to go there with the conspiracies. I just know there's something odd about it that they deny. We do know there's geoengineering. We do know there's cloud seeding, but they do this when there's no clouds, So I question this, and there's, I do believe there's something with the change in the weather. I'm like, what if they're actually trying to block and do a net so, extraterrestrials don't come through? Like, there's so many different things we can consider, but I just know there's something off about that, I'll say. And I do know that when those things happen, I either get like headachy, or I just don't want to go outside. Like, I always see a change in my mood when it happens, or headaches. It was more so in Southern California. Here, when it happens, I have crisp mountain air, so it's like not as bad. But But yeah, I mean, you just have to question things. Everyone just like wants to die. That's conspiracy. Like, well, did you ever question what that is and why? If that was natural plane routes, why isn't it every day where it's just like crosses and X's? And then why is it so expand? I mean, I live by airports. You know, like live close to Reno Airport, and well, it's like 20 minutes, but you can still see in the mountains, whatever. And in Palm Springs, if there was just normal from airplanes, it'd be every day, all day. But it's not. You know, so it's just things to think about. And, you know, and a lot of us are susceptible to what's in the air and susceptible to air quality, and we don't realize it. And I've done a lot of reads where I feel like the air quality is making people sick, actually. And more people are susceptible to that, you know, or like I said, I was saying with Lily, you're susceptible to fragrances too, right? So great, you got that out, but perhaps the air quality might be something, or around your environment, right? These are things to think about, guys. You know, especially when you're having consistent things or things that are happening for no reason, you know what I mean? So it's important to ask yourself these questions. And with that said, with your new identity comes new preferences. Okay. Good to you're in Reno too. Awesome. Like living there or visiting? I'm assuming you're visiting, right? So we need to connect. Heather. Because my partner and I have not made any friends the past year. We've been so like busy doing things. Like, we need to meet people. We keep saying it's here. So that's on our bucket list. We need to start meeting new people now. We've settled here for almost a year. But yes, guys, it's your new identity. When we change our perspective on things, our bodies are going to need something different too. As above, so below. The body responds to our consciousness. The body responds to our intellect. So you might be realizing that you might be sensitive to things that you just can't tolerate anymore. Again, you might be sensitive. I can't tolerate bullshit. I can't tolerate gossip anymore. My new identity is like, I can't. No, I'm good. I don't have paid tolerance for it. I have low tolerance for that now. And you know, it also might be, you know, it's the same as where you also feel like you can't tolerate, like we said before, certain environmental things. These are things to think about now with this new identity shift, guys. And environmental things also means that you might just start considering like, oh, I can't move right now. Like, I'm stuck here. And it's like, yeah, but maybe it's another city that's closer, or maybe just in the future you start thinking about it and things line up if you just consider it. But a lot of people just don't consider, I can't move. I can't do this. You know, like a reader told me I was going to have kids. I'm like, I don't want kids. But I'm like, I'm open. That's fine. I'm not going to like deny it because someone told me I was going to be a reader 13, 14 years ago. I would have laughed in their face. I'm like, I'm a composer. I'm doing licensing music. I'm good. I don't want my psychic abilities to be public. I like to keep it to myself. I was still doing readings, but it happened. So yes, this new identity will come with new future opportunities and new changes that your older version, I hate to sound cliche with that, but your older version is not aware of. Right? So it's good to make these changes, good to be aware of this, and, you know, consider things. We don't have to embrace everything, but we also don't have to deny everything either. Just consider. Be open to considering things. Saying, well, I don't know, but that's possible. I'm not going to turn it down, or that's possible, or I'm not going to fully embrace it because it's not completely, you know, validated, right? So the more we do this, the more we allow ourselves to evolve, the more we allow ourselves to be more perceptive, the more we allow ourselves to be more objective, right? And I think that we definitely will start seeing more of how our intellectual vibration, our emotional vibration is actually correlating, affecting a physical vibration too. Because as we say, science is also a wonderful aspect of how things are laid out for us in the physical. And so, you know, we also can carry heavy energy, which creates behaviors that we do, and the behaviors that we consistently act upon that actually create illnesses. We could be in deprivation mode and feeling sorry for ourselves and having anxiety, but then all of a sudden, because of that energy that we don't resolve, we start becoming attracted to foods that create more anxiety. Like we say, the comfort food, right? So because we're just kind of matching that low vibe energy, so therefore we eat those foods, and that creates illnesses in the body physically because of that stuff. Things don't just come out of nowhere. You know, and I think we have to understand the levels of how things happen, the levels of how things manifest. It's not just because you thought something. And it can't just because you acted something out either. So many people are just like, I'm going to go out and try it for American Idol, and they suck, and they're like, I'm going to do it. I waited in line, and they think that all that because they thought about it and they're doing it, that somehow they are going to be successful in that avenue. It's like, but you don't match it. Don't have that talent. So therefore, we have to understand a thought or just the action alone is not enough. Is it who you are? Is it really who you are? Is it something that you actually are skilled at and aligned with? And so that's something to think about too. Anyways, so ask yourselves, what's the new identity for you? What is this new identity? What is this new persona? What are the new upgrades that you're doing for yourself? Ask yourself this and start putting that into motion. And that means you have to stop participating in things that are at the lower levels, not to sound judgmental, but they're at a level here. You're now at level 5. You don't need to be doing and participating in level 4 things. Okay. Let's just be more simple about it. And what is more you're tackling that you're on this new level for yourself. And I think that once we do this moving forward, we'll understand how it's really integrating with the collective, and we'll be more perceptive of how we actually are changing and evolving in the right way. And you'll feel part of it instead of beside it. All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure to see you all again every week. I'll be on next week too. I don't know what the topic's going to be. So I just wing it. Maybe next week will be, let me look at the date. Next week is what? 26th. Cool. So that's the Thursday before the first. So I'll do my April energy forecast next week. So stay tuned. And those of you who know Devin Dure, I'll actually be on her show in April, so we're doing a tag team there. So we're going to tag team again and collaborate again. So those of you know Devin Dure will be teaming up, so it'll be on her channel. But I'll maybe see if I can stream it to mine at the same time, so you get to watch us collaborate again. And so that'll be fun. And yeah, and that's all. And so guys, again, if you want to book a one-on-one session, scottcruzepm.com. I'll run the commercial at the end. For life readings, again, mediumship sessions, as well as intuition builder. Within the life readings, of course, I do go into depth, an array of topics, of course, more so than just the simple questions here. And past life regressions, of course, I get into that as well. Past shit that needs to be resolved, past incarnations, present stuff, health, relationship, career, health, medium, all that great stuff. Get into depth, right? So there we are. Okay. And so scottcruzepm.com. And of course, you want to connect with someone who's crossed over. That's another session that's very dear to my heart too. As well as you want to tap into your own abilities. That's my intuition builder session. If you really feel like you have this intuitive awareness, but what to do with it, where your strengths lie with it, that's another session I offer too, because I feel it's important that people do tap more to their psychic abilities and intuitive awarenesses, because that brings more attention and validity to our space. But of course, if we're more discerning, more intuitive, then we succeed as a whole too. So it's important to me that you all expand your abilities as well. Okay. This way you'll trust other good readers too. So scottcruzepm.com. And for those of you who haven't seen, I'm going to run it again. You can enjoy this and maybe chat in the room. I'm going to close with my music video for Save the Future. I told you guys, I don't market my stuff enough. So I'm just have to be repetitive and play it again, like as if it was on MTV or something. So I'll close with Save the Future video. For those who've seen it, great. You can enjoy it again. If you haven't seen it, pay attention to my new songs, Save the Future. And I'll see you all next week. Much love, guys. Remember, you're the gods and goddesses of your own myths. What do you want to create? Create. Good night, guys. See you next week.
Try to deny it, stay asleep in the machine.
Scott Cruz is popularly known for his life-changing one-on-one readings to also guide in your soul ascension journey. With life readings, get insight into your relationships, career, health, trauma healings, past life regressions, and more. Want to connect with a loved one who's transitioned? Scott's mediumship session can be the gateway to you and your loved ones in spirit, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual realm. If you want to enhance your own psychic ability, Scott's Intuition Builder session can help expand your psychic and mediumship abilities. So sign on to scottcruzpm.com to book your own personal session today.